The chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with the usual sounds of dozens of species talking in hushed tones. The grand circular room stretched upward into a dome, painted with the stars of all member worlds. At the center sat the 12 High Council members on elevated platforms, while representatives from 200 species occupied the lower seats. Paul Carter sat alone at the human desk, reviewing notes on his tablet. For the 5th time this year, Earth had brought forward a proposal to address the growing pirate attacks on their outer colonies. For the 5th time, he expected rejection. The Council recognizes Ambassador Paul Carter of Earth, announced the Solarian chairperson, Zex Terrell. His blue skin shimmered under the lights as he gestured with 4 arms. Paul stood, straightened his gray uniform, and approached the speaker's circle. The gentle hum of translator devices filled the air as he began. Honorable Council members, I come before you again with urgent news. 3 more human colonies have suffered attacks in the past month. 19 civilians dead. 2 research stations destroyed. We have tracked these pirates to bases in the Orion Drift, an area outside our jurisdiction, but within Council space. Paul displayed holographic evidence of the attacks. Images of burned buildings and crying children appeared above the circle. We request permission to extend our patrol routes into the drift and ask for Council ships to join this effort. Murmurs filled the chamber. The chairperson held up a hand for silence. We have heard Earth's concerns before, Zex Terrell said. The Council has more pressing matters than border disputes in distant sectors. Your status as a probationary member limits your patrol zones for good reason. Your species is still proving itself trustworthy. Paul took a deep breath. We have been proving ourselves for 32 years. Humans have contributed medical breakthroughs that benefit every species in this chamber. Our engineering teams maintain half the Council's deep space networks. Our soldiers died defending Solarian colonies in the Rigel conflict. And we appreciate such contributions, interrupted Council member Vox of the Torlian Empire. But rules exist for the stability of all. Perhaps if human representatives showed more patience, your probationary period might end sooner. Paul looked around the chamber, the same dismissive looks, the same patronizing tone. Something deep inside him shifted, like a gear finally breaking after too much pressure. We have shown patience, Paul said quietly. We have shown cooperation. We have shown good faith. What we haven't seen is reciprocation. Ambassador Carter warned the chairperson, this tone is not helpful. Paul reached up to his collar and unpinned his translator badge. The small device had connected him to the Council's communication network for 7 years. He looked at it sitting in his palm. When humans joined this Council, we believed we were entering a community of equals, Paul said, his words no longer being translated across the chamber. Most Council members now heard only strange human sounds. We were wrong. He placed the translator badge on the speaker's podium. Without another word, Paul turned and walked toward the exit. The chamber fell silent as his footsteps echoed. 2 human aides waiting near the doors looked up in surprise. Sir, asked one young woman, the session isn't. We're leaving, Paul said simply. All of us. The massive doors closed behind them with a deep thud that seemed to vibrate through the entire chamber. On his ship, Paul sat at his desk and recorded a short message. His face showed no anger, no emotion at all. To all human representatives, diplomats, military personnel, and civilians working in Council space. Pack up. We're going home. He paused, then added, 32 years is long enough to wait for respect. The message was sent with highest priority encryption to every human outpost, ship, and embassy across Council space. In the Council chamber, the aliens continued their discussions, moving on to other matters. None of them realized that the humans who had walked out would not be coming back tomorrow, or the day after, or perhaps ever. And none of them understood yet just how much they would miss them when they were gone. Captain Laura Winters stood on the bridge of the Earth defense ship Valor, watching as her crew disconnected human systems from the Joint Defense Station orbiting Proxima Delta. The small planet below was home to a Xylarian mining colony that humans had protected for over a decade. "Captain, the alien commander wants to speak with you," said Communications Officer Ryan Bell. "Again." Laura sighed. "Put him through." The large screen filled with the image of Admiral Krithvex. His blue face showed what humans had learned to recognize as worry. "Captain Winters, you cannot simply leave. This station requires your technicians to function properly. We have an agreement." Laura kept her voice calm. "The agreement was made when humans believed we were partners. Your council has made it clear we are not. This is about the pirate issue. One denied request, and you abandon your posts." Krithvex's voice rose. "It's about 30 years of denied requests," Laura said. 30 years of humans giving technology, resources, and lives while being treated as children who need supervision. In the background, more human crew members packed equipment into crates. Alien station personnel watched with growing concern. "The Council will view this as a hostile action," warned Krithvex. "No," Laura said firmly. "A hostile action would be shutting down your life support before we left. We're simply going home and taking our things with us." She nodded to her executive officer, who pressed a series of commands into his console. Throughout the station, human-designed systems began orderly shutdowns. "You have your own technology," Laura continued. "It worked before we arrived. It will work after we leave." Krithvex slammed all 4 hands onto his control panel. "It will work at 1/10 the efficiency. Your people designed upgrades to all our critical systems, and we offered to teach your engineers how everything worked. Your council refused, saying our methods were unproven and needed monitoring. Well, now you can prove them yourselves." The screen split to show another incoming transmission. It was from Earth, Defense Secretary Kyle Martinez. Laura accepted the call. "Captain Winters, what's your status?" asked Martinez. His gray hair and tired eyes showed the strain of coordinating the largest withdrawal in human history. "Nearly complete, sir. All personnel will be aboard in 20 minutes. All retrievable technology in 30. "Good. Operation Homecoming is proceeding ahead of schedule. All human ships, personnel, and technology will be out of Council space within 48 hours, not the 72 we planned." The alien admiral interrupted. "Secretary Martinez, surely we can discuss this. The Council may not have always. The time for discussion was the past 30 years, Admiral," Martins replied. "We reached out. We shared knowledge. We bled alongside your troops, and we remained probationary members with limited rights and constant oversight." Around the station, the last human technicians boarded shuttles. On the planet below, human diplomatic staff closed their offices. Similar scenes played out on hundreds of worlds across the galaxy. "The withdrawal will be complete," Martins continued. "Peaceful but absolute. If the Council wishes to open new discussions, they can send representatives to Earth as equals." The transmission ended. Laura turned to her crew. "Final checks. We launch in 10 minutes." Outside the viewports, she could see other human ships breaking formation with alien vessels. The integrated fleet that had protected this sector for years was separating like oil from water. A young officer approached her. "Captain, some of the alien crew are asking if we'll really leave them defenseless. They seem scared." Laura looked at the station they were about to abandon. "We warned them about the pirate threat. We offered solutions. They chose not to listen." She softened slightly. "Tell them we've left emergency protocols in their computers. Basic instructions only. Enough to keep critical systems running. That's more than the Council gave us." The Valor's engines hummed to life as the last shuttle docked. Laura sent a final message to the station. "Proxima Delta Station, this is Captain Winters. The Earth defense ship Valor is departing your space. Good luck." The ship turned away from the station and accelerated into the darkness, leaving confusion and fear in its wake. Council member Ziv Toril of the Viridian Alliance sat in his private chamber, watching reports flood his screens. It had been only 7 days since the humans left, but already the effects were spreading across Council space like cracks in glass. "Play the next report," he commanded his assistant. The screen showed the mining world Pelcher 7. The alien supervisor looked tired, his gray scales dull with stress. "The processing facilities are operating at 30% capacity," the supervisor said. "The human engineers took nothing when they left. All equipment remains, but the maintenance cycles they designed require their expertise. We cannot replicate their methods." Ziv Toril waved a hand to skip to the next report. A medical director from a central hospital appeared. "Our emergency response times have doubled. The human medical staff made up only 15% of our personnel, but they handled 40% of critical cases. Their treatments were more effective, their diagnostic methods faster. We are struggling." Report after report told the same story. Communication networks failing without human technicians, terraforming projects stalling, transport systems running on reduced schedules. The humans had integrated themselves into every aspect of Council operations, and now they were gone. On Earth, diplomatic advisor Susan Porter watched similar reports in her office at the Global Unity building. Former alien colleagues sent desperate messages directly to her private channels, bypassing official communications. Her assistant entered with another data tablet. 3 more requests for humans to return to critical positions. The Xilarian Science Academy, the Rigel Defense Network, the Central Medical Exchange. Susan scrolled through them and placed the tablet with a growing pile of others. "Any official communication from the Council yet?" "No," her assistant said. "Only these private requests." Susan walked to the window. Outside, returned human ships filled the sky above Washington. Similar scenes played out above every major Earth city as the human fleet came home. "They still don't understand," she said. "These messages offer better pay, better accommodations, special privileges, as if we left over comfort issues." Her assistant sorted through more incoming transmissions. "The Viridian ambassador is offering humans a separate treaty, full citizenship rights in their territory, access to all technology. Breaking ranks already," Susan noted. The Council unity didn't last long. She picked up one of the tablets and read the message from an alien she had once considered a friend. It pleaded for human medical specialists to return to an outpost where children were now suffering without proper care. For a moment, her resolve wavered. But then she remembered how that same friend had voted against human participation in Council medical policy decisions, claiming humans were too new to the galactic community to have equal input. "Let them wait," she told her staff. "They never listened before. Now they can learn how." She paused, looking at the image of sick alien children. "But prepare a humanitarian package for delivery to the children's facility. Medicine only, no personnel. We won't punish innocent children for their leaders' mistakes." Across the galaxy, the ripple effects continued. On the luxury world Elysium Prime, wealthy aliens found their automated homes malfunctioning as human-designed systems degraded without maintenance. On military bases, training exercises ended in confusion without human tactical advisors. In the Council chamber itself, emergency sessions ran day and night. The Grand Room that had once dismissed human concerns now focused on nothing else. "We must offer them full membership," argued one representative. "Too late for that," replied another. "They will demand more now." "Then give them more," shouted a third. "My world has lost half its power generation. We need them back." The Xilarian chairperson, Zex Terrell, watched the debate with growing dread. He had received the latest economic projections. If humans remained isolated for even one more month, the galactic economy might collapse. He called for order, but the chamber continued in chaos. Representatives who had barely acknowledged humans now fought over who would lead the delegation to beg for their return. In Earth orbit, the first unauthorized alien ship appeared, carrying an ambassador without Council approval. Its message was simple: "We need to talk. Please." The ripples were becoming waves. The emergency alert woke Council Security Chief Daniel Ross at 3 in the morning. He grabbed his tablet from the bedside table in his Earth apartment, blinking sleep from his eyes. The message was marked with the highest priority code, one he hadn't seen since the Rigel conflict. The screen showed the face of Krelvor, his former deputy on the Council Security Force. The alien's facial ridges were pale with stress. "Chief Ross, they hit us. The pirates hit Celeria Prime itself. 3 orbital stations destroyed. Thousands dead. They're still in the system. Our defenses." The alien's voice broke. "We need help." Daniel sat up straight, fully awake now. The pirates attacking the Celerian homeworld. It was unthinkable. The species that had most strongly opposed human anti-pirate operations was now suffering the consequences. He called the Emergency Response Center at Earth Defense Command. Night shift personnel were already mobilizing when his video connected. "I just got the alert," Daniel told the duty officer. "How bad is it?" "Worse than they're admitting," replied the officer. "Our long-range sensors show 5 pirate cruisers attacking Celeria Prime's orbital defenses. Without human tactical systems, the Celerian fleet is scattered and disorganized." On screens behind the officer, Daniel could see data feeds showing the battle. Red dots representing pirate ships moved with purpose, while blue dots of Celerian defenders moved chaotically. "Have they formally requested our help?" Daniel asked. "Yes. The Council sent an emergency aid request 10 minutes ago. First official communication since the withdrawal." Daniel thought for a moment. "What's our response?" "Currently being decided at the highest levels. The President is meeting with military advisors now." 3 hours later, Daniel stood in the White House Situation Room with other security officials. President Allison Grant entered, her face showing the strain of a difficult decision. "The Celerians have lost 3 more defensive platforms," reported Admiral William Hayes. "Pirates are targeting their shipyards now. Civilian casualties are mounting." The President nodded grimly. "And our response package?" "Ready to transmit," said the Secretary of Defense. "Tactical data only. Detailed scans of pirate vessel weaknesses. Optimal defense patterns for their remaining ships." "No physical intervention?" asked a junior officer. The President turned to him. "No. We warned them repeatedly about this threat. They dismissed us. Now we will provide information to help them defend themselves, but not risk human lives." Daniel prepared the data package himself. Along with tactical information, he included a personal message to Krelvor. "This is precisely what we warned would happen." The pirate groups gathered strength while the Council debated. "I'm sorry for your losses, but remember, we tried to prevent this." He transmitted the package, then returned to monitoring the situation. With human tactical data, the Celerian defenses became more effective, but the damage was already severe. 2 pirate vessels were destroyed, but the others escaped with stolen resources and technology. Meanwhile, on the far side of Earth, Security Director Frank Nelson oversaw the activation of previously undisclosed defensive technology. Massive platforms rose from the ocean, unfolding into defensive arrays that extended Earth's protective shield to twice its previous range. "Defense grid at 80% and rising," reported a technician. "All sectors report ready status." Frank nodded with satisfaction. "The Council never knew about these defenses. We developed them quietly while they restricted our official military expansion." "Do you think they'll retaliate against us for withdrawing?" asked his deputy. Frank watched as the defense grid reached full power, creating a protective bubble around Earth that would stop any attacking force the Council could muster. "They might try," he said, "but they'll find we're not the helpless junior members they thought we were." In space, human scout ships monitored all approach vectors to the solar system. They reported an increasing number of alien vessels moving toward Earth, not in attack formation, but in the desperate approach patterns of refugees seeking shelter. The first consequences of human withdrawal had been inconvenience. The second had been economic disruption. Now the third phase was beginning. Security collapse in regions humans once helped protect. And on a dozen worlds, former Council allies began to ask the same question. What had they done by pushing humans away? The Galactic Credit Exchange Terminal showed numbers that made the Solarian banker's skin fade to pale blue. In just 3 weeks, the credit had lost 40% of its value against Earth's currency. Trade routes once secured by human patrols were now dangerous or completely closed. Medical supplies previously manufactured on Earth were nearly impossible to find. Across Council space, economic panic spread faster than any news report could track it. Markets that had taken centuries to develop were collapsing in days. On the resort world of New Azure, wealthy aliens found themselves suddenly stranded when the automated transport systems, designed and maintained by human engineers, failed completely. Food deliveries to outer colonies slowed to a trickle as shipping companies refused to travel without human security vessels as escorts. On Earth, President Allison Grant stood before the United Nations General Assembly. The Grand Hall was packed with representatives from every human nation, along with cameras broadcasting to settlements across the solar system. For decades, we extended our hands in friendship to the galactic community, she said. We gave them our knowledge, our resources, our blood. They gave us condescension and empty promises. The audience remained silent, feeling the weight of her words. Some ask why we do not help the Council now, in their time of need. They ask if we are being cruel or vindictive. She paused, looking around the room. I say we are being just. We warned them about pirate threats. We offered solutions to economic problems. We proposed collaborative security measures. Each time, they dismissed us as too young, too unpredictable, too human. In orbit above Earth, the alien ship Eternal Wisdom waited. Council Representative Earthak had arrived uninvited 3 days earlier, begging for a meeting. Any meeting, with human officials. So far, Earth had only permitted the ship to remain in orbit, providing no response to its increasingly desperate messages. Inside the ship, Earthak paced nervously. His species rarely showed emotion, but now his tendrils twitched with anxiety. His aide entered the command chamber with yet another empty response from Earth. Still nothing, Earthak asked. They acknowledge our presence but will not grant an audience, the aide replied. Have you told them we are authorized to offer full council membership, voting rights, technology exchange? All this and more. They do not respond to offers. Earthak moved to the viewport, looking down at the blue planet. From here, it seemed so small, so insignificant in the vast galactic community. How had everyone been so wrong about its importance? Back on Earth, Economic Advisor Ben Miller presented the latest data to the President's staff. The Council's economic situation is deteriorating faster than our models predicted, he explained, showing charts on the large screen. Without human goods, services, and security, they're facing total collapse within 2 months. And our situation? Asked Vice President Julia Wong. Ben smiled slightly, surprisingly positive. We've redirected our trade and innovation inward. The solar system colonies are reporting increased production now that we're not sending 30% of our goods to Council space. On the manufacturing world Teleris 4, alien factory supervisor VexCon faced a riot. Workers demanded pay in Earth currency instead of now worthless galactic credits. The central bank had no Earth currency to offer. Please, he begged over the facility speakers. The humans will return. The Council is negotiating. We must remain calm. But his words had no effect. Like many across Council space, the workers had lost faith in their leaders. Some were already booking passage to Earth, willing to arrive as refugees rather than remain in the collapsing economy. In the Council chamber, emergency sessions ran continuously. The grand room that had once hosted calm, methodical deliberations now echoed with shouting and accusations. The Xilarians drove them away. Yelled the Draxian representative. Your arrogance caused this. All of us treated them as lesser beings, countered the Voth delegate. My government has opened independent negotiations with Earth. Traitors, shouted others. The Council must stand united. But unity was impossible now. Self-interest drove each species to seek its own salvation as the carefully balanced galactic order crumbled. On Earth, President Grant concluded her address. We will not return until recognized as equals. Not as students, not as probationary members, as equals. The Council created this crisis. They can end it with a single word: respect. The audience rose in standing ovation, while billions of humans throughout the solar system watched with pride. After decades of being dismissed, humanity had found its voice, and the galaxy was finally listening. The council chamber looked nothing like it had just 6 weeks earlier. The grand circular room designed for calm debate now resembled a battlefield. Representatives shouted across the floor, shaking fists and tentacles at each other. Security officers stood at every entrance, weapons visible. The Solarians must accept responsibility, roared the Draxian ambassador, his scaled skin flushed with anger. It was your dismissal of human concerns that started this disaster. Solarian chairperson Zexteril slammed all 4 hands on his podium. The council voted together. Do not place blame solely on us when you all agreed. From her private viewing room, Ambassador Lurvosa of the Voth Confederation watched with growing disgust. Her species valued order above all else, and this chaos was unbearable. She turned to her aide. Prepare our ship. We leave for Earth tonight. But the Council has not approved direct negotiations, her aide protested. The Council can no longer stop us, Lurvosa replied. 6 other species have already sent unauthorized missions to Earth. We will not be left behind. On Earth, Vice Admiral Eric Moore reviewed intelligence reports in the Pentagon's Secure Command Center. Large screens showed footage from across Council space, footage that human intelligence ships continued to gather despite the official withdrawal. Armed conflict has broken out in the Cygnus sector, reported his intelligence officer. Draxian and Solarian forces are exchanging fire near the fuel depot. That's the 3rd outbreak this week, Eric noted. All in regions where human peacekeepers once maintained order. He studied the tactical display. For 30 years, human ships had patrolled these regions, preventing ancient rivalries from erupting into violence. Now those ships were gone, and the peace they had maintained was collapsing. They built their peace on our backs, he said quietly, but never acknowledged the foundation. The door opened, and Secretary of Defense Kyle Martinez entered. Admiral, we have a situation. 17 unauthorized alien vessels are approaching Earth orbit. They're ignoring standardized communication protocols. Eric straightened. Hostiles? Not exactly. They appear to be diplomatic ships from individual Council species, all arriving without Council authorization. Each is broadcasting a request for separate negotiations with Earth. The 2 men looked at the display showing the incoming ships. Some were elegant diplomatic vessels. Others were clearly military ships with weapons powered down to appear non-threatening. The Council is fracturing faster than we predicted, Eric said. In deep space, aboard the human research vessel Pioneer, Dr. Megan Foster recorded her findings. 3 weeks of intensive study had confirmed what she'd suspected. The alien technology humans had been instructed to use under Council guidance was deliberately inefficient. Compare the Council-approved engine design with our modified version, she explained to the camera. The approved design wastes 30% of energy input. There's no reason for this inefficiency except to limit our capabilities. She sent the report to Earth with priority marking. This was just one of dozens of similar discoveries since the withdrawal. Council advisors had guided human development into deliberate dead ends and inefficient systems, all while claiming to help. Back in the Council chamber, the Solarian chairperson fought to regain control of the meeting. A new alert flashed on his screen. The Voth Confederation had officially announced independent negotiations with Earth. Order. We must have order, he shouted, but few even looked his way. The Draxian representative stood on his desk. The Draxian Imperium formally withdraws from all Council security arrangements. We will defend our own borders since the Council cannot. More announcements followed. The Peloran Alliance would negotiate separately with Earth. The Zentari Collective would redirect all its trade to human space if permitted. Each declaration brought more chaos to the chamber. On his diplomatic ship approaching Earth, Voth Ambassador Lur Vosa prepared her opening proposal. Her species had always respected humans more than most council members, viewing their adaptability as a strength rather than a cause for concern. "We offer full technological exchange," she told her staff. "Equal trade status. Military alliance." "Will it be enough?" asked Danaid. Lur Vosa looked out at the blue planet growing larger in the viewport. "Perhaps not. But unlike the Council, we are willing to negotiate as equals." In Earth orbit, the growing collection of unauthorized diplomatic vessels created a new crisis for human security forces. Each claimed to represent their species' true interests, separate from the Council that had failed them. The Council was not just fracturing, it was shattering, and every broken piece was now turning toward Earth, hoping to build something new from the ruins of the old order. After 2 months of silence, Earth finally agreed to receive a delegation. The news spread across Council space faster than light, transmitted from world to world by desperate governments. Markets that had been in free fall stabilized slightly at the news. Riots on outer colonies calmed as people waited to hear what would happen next. The chosen meeting place was not the Council headquarters but Earth itself. The diplomatic center in Geneva was prepared for the most important negotiation in human history. Security teams swept the building hourly. Military ships maintained a protective formation in orbit. The Council delegation arrived on a single vessel. Rather than sending representatives from all member species, they had selected just 5 ambassadors. The minimum needed to speak with authority. Chief Negotiator Olivia Ward watched their ship land from her office window. 2 months ago, she had been a mid-level diplomat. Now she would lead humanity's response to the galaxy's plea. "They're here," she told her team. "Remember our position. We do not bend." The alien diplomats were escorted into the Grand Hall of the Geneva Center. They had expected to find angry humans ready to make demands. Instead, they found a calm, confident negotiating team seated at a round table, a deliberate choice to show equality. "Welcome to Earth," Olivia said simply. "Please be seated." The head of the Council delegation, a Xelarian named Jex Khan, seemed surprised by the lack of tension. "We thank you for receiving us. The Council understands that mistakes were made in our relationship with humanity." Olivia nodded but said nothing, letting the silence stretch uncomfortable. Jex Khan continued nervously. "We are prepared to offer full Council membership to Earth, effective immediately. All probationary status will be removed. Humans will have equal voting rights in all matters." The human team showed no reaction. They had expected this basic concession. "Is that all?" Olivia asked calmly. The alien delegates looked at each other in confusion. They had expected gratitude, relief, negotiation, not this calm question. "We also offer a 40% increase in trade quotas," added another delegate, "and human representation on all Council security committees." Olivia glanced at her team before responding. "Perhaps you misunderstand the situation. We are not here to rejoin the Council under slightly better terms. We are here to establish a new relationship." She slid a data tablet across the table. "These are our non-negotiable terms." The alien delegates read in silence, their expressions changing from confusion to shock. One stood up, their facial tentacles vibrating with emotion. "This is unprecedented. Full Council membership, yes. Equal voting rights, yes. But you demand reparations for decades of what you call exploitation. A formal apology delivered to your world leaders. Review of all technology restrictions placed on humans." "Yes," Olivia said simply. "Those are our terms. The Council cannot possibly." "The Council is no longer in a position to dictate what is possible," interrupted Olivia. "Your economy is collapsing. Pirate attacks increase daily. 3 of your member species are on the verge of open war. You need us far more than we need you." Outside the negotiation room, scientist Adam Reed led a different kind of meeting. He showed alien technical advisors through a research facility that had been hidden from council inspectors for years. This energy conversion system is 30% more efficient than anything the council uses, he explained, and this medical scanner can detect diseases 2 weeks before symptoms appear. The alien scientists stared in wonder. One asked, "Your people developed all this while under council oversight. How?" Adam smiled slightly. "We recognized early that the council was limiting our development, so we created separate research paths, one visible, one hidden." Back in the negotiation room, the council delegates conferred privately. Some were outraged at human demands. Others recognized the new reality. Finally, Jex Khan spoke. "Your terms are difficult, but not impossible. We will need to consult with." "You have full authority to agree," Olivia interrupted, "or we end these talks now. Every day you delay, 3 more of your worlds request private negotiations with Earth. The council is dissolving. This may be your last chance to save it." The delegates looked at each other. Centuries of seeing humans as junior partners made acceptance difficult. But the alternative was worse, a complete collapse of the galactic order they had maintained for millennia. "We will agree to your terms," Jex Khan said finally. "The council acknowledges its errors in dealing with humanity." Olivia nodded once. "Then we have a foundation to build upon, not as students and teachers, but as equals." For the first time, the aliens truly saw humanity, not as a young species to be managed, but as a force that had forever changed the balance of power in the galaxy. 6 months after the human walkout, Ambassador Paul Carter returned to the council chamber. The room fell silent as he entered. Every eye, optical sensor, and sensory organ focused on the human who had started it all with a simple act of dignity, walking out when words no longer mattered. The chamber itself had changed. No longer did the High Council members sit on elevated platforms above the representatives. All seats now formed a perfect circle at the same height. The physical space reflected the new reality, all species as equals. Paul took his seat at the Earth position. Beside him sat 3 other human representatives, reflecting Earth's new status as a full council member with expanded voting rights. The Council Supreme, a Viridian named Thax, called the session to order. "Today marks a new beginning for our galactic community. We welcome back our human colleagues, not as probationary members, but as full partners in our shared future." Paul nodded in acknowledgement but said nothing. The humans had insisted that actions, not speeches, would define this new relationship. The first item on the agenda was the pirate threat that had grown during the human absence. Captain Laura Winters, now commander of Joint Security Operations, stood to present the plan. "The combined fleet will deploy next week," she explained, showing tactical displays. "Human ships will provide the core fighting force, while council vessels will secure supply lines and civilian areas." No one objected to her leadership. The recent attack on Siluria Prime had proven the cost of ignoring human military expertise. After the security briefing, Dr. Megan Foster presented the first cooperative technology exchange under the new protocols. Unlike before, when humans shared freely while receiving little in return, the new system ensured mutual benefit. Human medical techniques combined with Viridian cellular manipulation show promising results for treating neural degradation, she explained. "Together, we can advance both our sciences faster than either could alone." The mood in the chamber was different from before, less arrogant, more cooperative. Species that had once dismissed human ideas now listened carefully, asking questions rather than raising objections. In the diplomatic wing, Paul met privately with Council Elder Thawes, one of the few who had treated humans with respect from the beginning. "You have changed everything," Thawes said, his ancient voice soft with wonder. "In 6 months, you dismantled power structures that stood for millennia." Paul looked out at the stars visible through the viewport. "That was never our intention. We simply refused to be treated as less than we are." "Some fear you now," Thawes admitted. "They worry humans will seek revenge for past slights." Paul shook his head. "We never wanted to rule the galaxy. We just refuse to be ruled by it. There's a difference. And the future? Asked Thos. Equal partnership, mutual respect, shared progress. Paul turned from the window. But never again will we accept being patted on the head and told to wait our turn. Later that day in the Grand Assembly Hall, representatives from all council species gathered for the formal ratification of the new agreements. The document acknowledged past wrongs against humanity and established principles for future cooperation based on equality. As Paul signed for Earth, he remembered the day he had removed his translator pin and walked out. So much had changed since then. The galaxy had learned that humans were not just useful tools to be exploited, but essential partners in creating a better future. After the ceremony, the Xilarian chairperson Zex Terrell approached Paul. The once arrogant alien now showed the physical signs of stress his species displayed when deeply humbled. Ambassador Carter, he said quietly, I personally wish to express regret for my role in dismissing human concerns. You showed us the true meaning of strength, not domination, but the courage to stand for justice. Paul accepted the apology with a simple nod. Words mattered less than actions moving forward. As the gathering concluded, Paul looked around at the diverse species mingling together. Humans spoke with aliens as equals, sharing ideas without restraint or condescension from either side. It had taken a dramatic gesture, walking out, to create this new reality. Sometimes, Paul reflected, the most powerful negotiating tactic was being willing to leave the table. The galaxy had panicked when humans left, but from that panic had emerged something better, true partnership. The humans had walked out, and because of that, they could now walk forward together with the galaxy, not as followers, but as leaders helping forge a new path among the stars.